Hello, everybody. This is our regular update from the Network Homes main board meeting, which took place on the 26th of May. I'm going to give you a few highlights of what was discussed. Obviously, the organisation is still very much preoccupied with the response to COVID-19, and the board received quite a lot of information about our plans to remobilise, which means to begin to return services to normal forms of delivery. We have been able to maintain services throughout the emergency, but some things like routine repairs have stopped, and of course all our staff have been working from home. So the board heard that the first staff, a very small number, will return to our offices Monday next week. These are people who literally cannot do their job from home or who have nowhere to work at home, and numbers will increase gradually through June. We are still expecting people who have an underlying condition or live with someone with an underlying condition or have to use public transport to come into work to be able to work from home until there's further government guidance to the contrary. So the board heard a good deal about that, and we also explained how we intend to resume repair services and some aspects of the financial impact of COVID on the organisation. This leads directly to another major point of discussion, which is a review of our 30-year business plan. Obviously, Network is a developing organisation with long-term financial commitments, and we have undertaken a big exercise recently to revise our business plan, both to take account of the changing development perspective, but also some of the impacts of COVID and other environmental factors, including Brexit. The full recast business plan will be presented to the next board in July, and that's the plan that shows the underlying financial strength of the organisation. On Tuesday, there was an announcement which led to quite a lot of discussion at the board about building safety. In the budget, the government made available a fund of £1 billion to assist with building remediation for those buildings that have unsafe cladding systems. On Tuesday, they made an announcement to the effect that in some cases, leaseholders who would otherwise be obliged to pay for part of the works or all of the works may be able to claim this money back from that fund. Clearly, this is very good news, and we were pleased because we had been lobbying for a change to this effect. There is quite a lot of detail in the document, which we need to understand fully to be sure who it applies to and who it doesn't. But there will certainly be some buildings in network stock where leaseholders might have faced bills for remediation work because there was absolutely nobody else that we could hold liable for the defects, and who will now not need to pay, and those works will be funded from this prospectus. We discussed the organisational's risk register. This is how the board does its horizon scanning to see what risks are presenting to the organisation, and it's been very much orientated around building safety for the last several months, together with the economic environment pre-pandemic, which was already less stable than it had been, partly as a result of Brexit and other economic factors. Now, obviously, the pandemic has changed everything in the short term and probably the medium and long term as well. And the way that Network's board is managing these risks is to, in essence, have two risk registers. One of the risks as they were existing before the pandemic, so the business as usual type risks that we need to manage, and the other is the COVID risk register, which in itself relates to some of the longer term risks, but obviously has a lot of additional factors about the safety of residents, the safety of delivering services to people in their homes, and so on. And managing a risk register properly is a fundamental part of the board's responsibilities and a regulatory requirement. And then finally, I will mention the discussion about the organisation's performance at the board meeting. There are two aspects to this. Network has performed well in terms of the COVID emergency. We've been able to utilise our investment in information technology to work from home. Services have been maintained. We are able to provide a full access to residents. So our contact centre has function properly throughout. We do have some challenging targets in our performance aspirations, and we're not meeting them all. And there was a good discussion at board about why we weren't meeting the ones that we are not meeting and what we can do to improve performance in the forthcoming year. On the very positive side, however, we have been able to maintain very strong compliance with health and safety regulation through the emergency, including with gas servicing. We have not been insisting on access in the way that we would normally do, but we have been able to make arrangements with all but a handful of residents who are shielding to be able to get in, service their appliances and make sure that they and their neighbours are safe. So the next board meeting will be in July, and by that time we hope that services will be much more back to business as usual, and that we will be preparing to move into our new head office in Wembley. And I hope by then everybody will have been able to return to a much more normal life, and that in the meanwhile you all stay safe.